350 million years ago, long before the dinosaur era, planet Earth was a very different place. Endless tropical swamps, teeming with towering ferns, intense humidity, and a high oxygen level in the air created ideal conditions for flourishing life, though not the kind we know today. The Carboniferous period was a strange, otherworldly era dominated by giant insects. Ever-present swampy tropical forests absorb carbon dioxide through photosynthesis and released immense amounts of oxygen into the atmosphere. This raised the oxygen level to a record 35%, more than 1.5 times the safe level for humans. Such high oxygen levels became a powerful energy source for living organisms in this primeval jungle world. It was the perfect time for early vertebrates, which were beginning to evolve but hadn't quite adapted to life on land, as well as various invertebrates that grew to astonishing sizes. It was a time of aggressive centipedes as long as a car, dragonflies soaring through the sky that resembled modern hawks, and giant spiders and scorpions the size of a ball terrier dominating the swampy jungles. The Carboniferous was an epoch when giant insects ruled the planet, transforming it into your worst nightmare. If you were to find yourself in the jungles of the Carboniferous period, the first sensation you'd likely feel would be lightheadedness, a sense of dizziness and disorientation. This would be due to the excessive oxygen levels, so abundant that even a small spark could ignite wet wood. Looking down, you'd likely see your feet sinking slightly into the swamp, which would be typical, as high humidity and swampy environments were a hallmark of the Carboniferous. But the real spectacle would be happening above you in the sky. If you lifted your gaze, you'd see something similar to birds flying overhead, their wings emitting a loud buzzing sound and causing a noticeable vibration in the air. These were giant prehistoric butterflies known as Paleoptera. The wingspan of a typical representative of this species averaged 16 inches, with the largest specimens reaching up to 22 inches, nearly 10 times the size of modern flying insects. Paleoptera were among the largest winged creatures of the Carboniferous. Their name, meaning ancient knitted wing, refers to their intricate wing patterns, which resembled a delicate mesh. In addition to their two standard pairs of wings with vibrant patterns, these insects also had small projections near their heads that may have acted as stabilizers during flight. On their heads, they bore a proboscis used for consuming plant fluids, an early example of adaptation to this type of feeding style. Aside from their huge size, Paleoptera had no way of intimidating you. They were harmless herbivores, interested only in the nutrient-rich juices of plants. The same, however, could not be said for a ground-dwelling predator of the Carboniferous, which posed a deadly threat to anything in its path. You wouldn't have trouble spotting it since it was the largest scorpion in the planet's history, known as Pulmonoscorpius curtinensis. It reached up to 28 inches in length. For reference, the largest modern scorpion, the emperor scorpion, barely grows to 8 inches. Pulmonoscorpius had a massive body covered with a chitinous exoskeleton, providing excellent protection from other predators. Its large, powerful pincers, equipped with sharp claws, allowed it to catch and hold prey, while its curved tail with a venomous stinger served as a death sentence for any unfortunate victim. The prey captured under the pressure of the pincers would face a grim fate. Pulmonoscorpius was an active predator that typically hunted smaller arthropods, mollusks, amphibians, and reptiles found both on land and in water. Its adaptation to aquatic environments allowed it to thrive as a predator in the ancient seas. And while you wouldn't have trouble noticing this giant scorpion, the size of a bull terrier, it would easily spot you as well. It had two pairs of eyes, one set centrally for spatial perception, and another lateral pair likely for detecting light. Additionally, it may have had sensory receptors on its body, enhancing its ability to navigate and locate prey. If you didn't consider yourself an arachnophobe before encountering this nearly 30-inch venomous scorpion, you might develop a newfound fear. But for now, let's return to the Carboniferous skies, where in addition to benign prehistoric butterflies like Paleoptera, we encounter winged predators. This predator would look strikingly familiar, as its descendants are still around today. Dragonflies. except these were anomalously gigantic, over 10 times larger than their modern relatives. Meganeura was one of the largest flying insects of all time. Looking at it, it's not that different from a regular dragonfly, albeit giant. With a wingspan of 2.1 to 2.3 feet and a body length of up to 1.3 feet, they rivaled modern peregrine falcons in size. Over 300 million years ago, these giant insects were fearsome aerial hunters and held the title of apex predator of the Carboniferous skies until the end of the period, when the first gliding reptiles emerged. Their large compound eyes, providing nearly 360 degrees vision, allowed them to spot prey from above and below. Additionally, their strong legs, equipped with spines for capturing prey, were features of very aggressive and dangerous predators. It's believed that their prey often included the aforementioned giant butterflies. Their adaptability to different environments allowed Meganeura to employ a dual hunting strategy. They could perch at the proverbial watchtower, waiting to ambush potential prey, or actively pursue it in flight. Fast and agile, they excelled at sharp aerial maneuvers, deftly avoiding obstacles while chasing their targets. While giant dragonflies did not have formidable opponents in the air, living on land presented challenges, even for the mighty Pulmonoscorpius, especially when faced with another colossal creature known as Arthroplura, a titan among terrestrial invertebrates. Arthroplura could terrify anyone with its appearance and size. It was the largest millipede ever to exist, and simultaneously, the largest terrestrial invertebrate in Earth's history. The smallest members of this genus reached up to 12 inches in length, while the largest specimens reached an astonishing 8.5 feet and weighed 110 pounds. Compare this to the longest living millipede today, Archospirastreptus gigas, which only grows to 13 inches. Arthroplura's body consisted of 30 armored segments, each up to 1.6 feet wide, with a pair of legs under each segment. Like many arthropods, Arthroplura periodically shed its exoskeleton when it outgrew the protective outer shell, allowing a new, stronger one to grow in its place. It's believed that Arthroplura had an extremely durable protective exoskeleton, which could shield it from encounters with predators. However, it's worth noting that such confrontations with other animals were very rare, since the Carboniferous period wasn't known for having many predators. Even giant scorpions would likely hesitate to attack a millipede several times their size. No fossil fragments have been found of the head and mouth parts of these giants, so the diet of the larger specimens remains uncertain. However, scientists speculate that these crawling manifestations of insectophobia likely fed on decaying plant matter and seeds. Presumably, young individuals were likely strictly vegetarian, while adults might have occasionally treated themselves to decaying meat, or even preyed on small animals. But the unique nature of the Carboniferous jungle doesn't stop here. Among the swamps, another predator lurked, waiting for small reptiles and amphibians. It looked like an unusually large spider, although it wasn't. A Termegarachne's incredible resemblance to spiders initially misled paleontologists when they first came across its fossilized remains, prompting them to give it the name Megarachne, which translates to big spider. However, over time, it became clear that Megarachne was actually a sea scorpion of considerable size. Its body length reached 1.8 feet, and its unique structure allowed Megarachne to feed using a method called sweep feeding. With paddle-like appendages, it would scrape through soft sediment in aquatic environments like swamps and rivers, capturing and consuming small invertebrates such as worms, insects, and smaller arthropods. Occasionally, it spoiled itself with terrestrial prey like reptiles and amphibians. However, these land animals were likely faster than Megarachne, and therefore less accessible as prey. It appears that this sea scorpion would hide in a burrow or river, waiting for victims that came too close to its deadly lair. As for active hunting, its ancestor, Pterygotus, a giant sea scorpion that lived over 400 million years ago, fared much better. This species was not only more dynamic, but also larger than Megarachne. Its length was almost comparable to the height of an average human, 5.2 feet. And if you think this arthropod is unusually large, That's only an illusion compared to the giant Hybotopterus. Pterygotus takes a back seat. The largest Hybotopterus specimens could reach 6 to 6.6 feet. They were likely record holders as the